Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. I'm Gerry. I got Edward and David here. They have other places to be, but they're being nice, which is sweet. So, guys, last thing. News came out today, and I'm hoping this news hasn't been thwarted by the time this video gets out, which happens sometimes. But apparently, Everton have been speaking to Marcel Brands of PSV, previously I think of AZ Alkmaar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he is a director of football at PSV, and he's done a lot in terms of bringing players in, selling players. He's apparently a pretty darn good director of football and is a good judge of talent, understands how to put together a squad and get good value for them. So it's interesting because to me, this particular hire with Allardyce being Steve Walsh's guy, this to me says, number one, Moshiri's not satisfied with our current transfer policy, and number two, he may be thinking about a different manager for the end of the season. So I've heard a number of rumors about this particular hire if it happens. Number one, I've heard Chelsea were also in for him, but I don't believe they are anymore. I think he was a previous former link, so I don't think he is still. So I think it's more just us talking to him. I think that's what's going on. I've heard that he's going to be kind of more focused globally. So I think that was the hint was that Walsh's signings from afar have not been on point, and but his signings inside Britain have been solid. I think that was the hint there. So yeah, so he could come on as director of football, and Walsh takes a little bit of a demotion, or it could be that he ends up sitting side by side with Walsh, kind of being co-directors, or maybe he works under Walsh. Don't know the situation right now, and we haven't even hired him yet. So what do you guys see as possibly being the situation and how this moves forward and what this means for Everton if it does happen?
Well, if I'm being honest, I'm not a massive fan of that whole director football structure, and I think so far for Everton it hasn't worked. You know, we spent a lot of money and we'll have one of the worst seasons we've had in a long time. So for me, the answer is not then bring another one in alongside the one we've already got. If he's thinking of being cutthroat and relieving Walsh of his duties, then fair enough. But we you know, what's the saying? Too many chefs in the kitchen. I think that's a prime example. So I'm not really a fan of this. Either replace Walsh or change the structure. Don't just be bringing in another director of football. As I said, I'm not even a true believer in the structure of the club of having a director of football anyway. So yeah, not overly impressed.
I think really the view with me, I do agree to a certain extent with director of football. It just seems like a pointless title to make us look like a fancy club. But I can't think of any other clubs in really the world that have got two directors of football. So maybe us doing it with two might be like the way forward and like show it might actually work because no one's ever tried it before. And then there's also that being the problem. No one's ever tried it before. We don't know if it's going to be successful. And it could also be a whole thing of, are we wanting to get, like, are we planning to have a different, you know, view for next season? Are we planning ahead? And to me, that's sort of a bit, in a way, insulting to Steve and Sam, just because of the fact that they're still in the minute and they're people with jobs. And if we basically replace them because they're not good enough mid-season, one, it's going to unsettle the team and unsettle the club maybe in a way as well. Because there's such a thing as like too many. And I think I came up with the too many chefs quote. I don't know, but
I actually saw somebody apply it on Twitter. They said possibly, you know, too many chefs in the kitchen. That's why when David said it, I was like, oh, I've heard that. I meant not that I've heard the saying because everybody has. I've heard it directly related to this, you know. Yeah. And I got to be honest, I agree if they make them co-directors, I agree with that. I think you got to make one of them the head. And what I think is going to happen is they'll make the new fellow the head, and Walsh will go down more to a director of scouting role, much more similar to what he was doing at Leicester, but he's going to be getting paid more than he was at Leicester. Hence, it's still a better gig. So it's in a sense a little bit of a demotion, but he's still sticking with the club. I think a big reason is I think it's because Moshiri wants to get a European coach. You know, I think it's honestly, I feel it in my bones that we're getting Fonseca. I don't know why. I just feel like I think he wants to get, and he knows that if he's getting a manager from outside of Britain, then they're going to want more players, and they're going to want those particular players from outside of Britain to stick and to immediately work. You know, Clausen and Sandro's situation, although if we were in a position to be patient, they possibly could be brought in and they could work. But right now, it's just not. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm actually a believer in the director of football position. I just think it would be great if we could be patient to learn it. And we haven't really been able to do that. We're not in that position. So
we haven't really got the time either to be patient with it.
Exactly.
In a way.
So that's where I totally agree with you guys. The fact that a lot of the major clubs in the world have this position, they've figured out this system, I do think we want to be in that upper echelon. And I think there's a reason why they have that particular system. What I like best about this possibility is it means someone at the top sees problems. They're not looking at the current state of Everton and saying, stay the course. You know, they're saying, screw this, it's not good enough, we got to fix it. I like that.
Yeah, I do.
You know, I think that's the most encouraging thing about just the fact that we're even considering this move. So,
I think it's like Moshiri being a businessman. He's just thinking, my investment ain't going well. I need to do something about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's fair to say at the end of this year, even if it doesn't happen now, there's going to be an inquest into what's happened this season, isn't there? So, I think some heads will be on the chopping block. Hopefully so.
The only other thing I would mention is I do think when you sell a player for as much as we sold Lukaku for, and bringing in an influx, a lot of them, a lot of new faces, it's not the easiest thing to bring them in and develop chemistry quickly. I think when you look at what happened to Spurs right after they sold Bale and they brought in all those players, they brought in, I think a lot of people thought that the majority of those signings were bad signings when they brought them in.
Really, it's only really two of them that have been really successful, isn't it? Ericsson and Dembele, and that's really it.
Well, I mean, think about it though. They also brought in Lamela, who has not played poorly in the past couple of seasons. He's just been hurt. And Paulinho, who played awful for them, but now plays for Barcelona.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're not bad players. It's just a situation. It's tough to bring in that many players. So we are in a situation like that.
They didn't have Pochettino at that point, did they?
No, they had Sherwood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they still had some managerial, but not as much transition as we've had. You know, not as fast. So
you never know, boys. We could be the next Spurs.
I still don't think we've handled this situation the right way. You know, so I'm not defending anything. I just think it's a tough one. Not easy. So, all right, guys, we should wrap it up. Anything else on this?
No.
That's good.
Cool.
Don't have enough to say about it, really.
All right.
You're waiting.
So that's our potential new director of football, Marcel Brands segment. If you've been digging the videos, please subscribe. All right, we're really close to 500. We're getting there, and thanks for that. Like, comment, tell us what you think about the director of football position. What in the heck's going on there? Got to figure it out. Check out Edward's stuff on his YouTube channel, Jam E James. Details are below. Also, check out David's stuff on both the Sportsman and the Toffee Blues website. Check out the Toffee Blues website. All kinds of articles about Everton on there. Check him out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And that's it. We're done plugging. David has to go to dinner, and I'm sure Edward's got practice with his band. So we should go. That's it. Thanks so much. That's all. Love you. Bye.
Adios.